They tried everything to save it: higher rates, cost cuts, new revenue streams. Nothing worked. Now California's main oil artery is dead, and alternatives don't exist at any reasonable price. Royal Dutch Shell arrived on California soil in 1913 and constructed the Martinez facility just 2 years afterward. This became the nation's inaugural processing plant, capable of running without interruption, handling 20,000 barrels daily. Traditional plants during that era required shutdowns between production cycles. Shell cracked the code on maintaining continuous flow. Come 1929, Shell distributed fuel across every state in the Union, with most originating from California operations. They pioneered the contemporary service station blueprint. For multiple decades, Martinez represented their flagship asset, receiving constant financial investment. During 1994, Shell invested $1 billion modernizing Martinez with pollution-reducing technology. The facility achieved distinction as among America's most advanced, registering 16.1 on the Nelson Complexity Index, whereas typical facilities score 5 through 10. This positioned Martinez within the nation's top 1%. Shell employed personnel who dedicated complete careers mastering this particular facility's intricacies. During mechanical failures, which inevitably occur at processing plants, these individuals possessed exact knowledge for resolution. However, California continuously imposed additional requirements: fresh emission standards, updated safety protocols, expanded documentation obligations. Shell persisted in accommodation efforts, yet financial calculations ceased making sense. February 1st, 2020, Shell declared their Martinez sale to PBF Energy for $1.2 billion. This represented total withdrawal. Shell abandoned California entirely following 105 years. Zero ownership retention, zero supply arrangements, complete departure. PBF Energy arrived from New Jersey making substantial commitments. Their chief executive proclaimed dedication toward upholding elevated operational benchmarks. General belief prevailed. The transaction finalized and Shell vanished with their capital. Here's the unspoken reality. PBF acquired the containers, piping, and machinery. They failed to acquire personnel familiar with every facility peculiarity. They failed to acquire institutional wisdom Shell accumulated across a century. PBF obtained the physical components. They never obtained the operational intelligence. That pledge toward elevated benchmarks survived 22 months. Thanksgiving evening, 2022, complications emerged within Martinez. The facility discharged 48,000 pounds of exhausted catalyst throughout adjacent communities. This material comprises aluminum, chromium, nickel, vanadium, and zinc. Entirely toxic, entirely hazardous for inhalation. Residents awakened Thanksgiving morning discovering metallic powder blanketing their vehicles, residences, landscapes, and a neighboring educational facility playground. California statutes mandate refineries announce dangerous discharges within 15 minutes. PBF remained silent for 3 days. Health authorities learned solely because citizens posted photographs on social platforms questioning the powder's identity. The FBI initiated an inquiry. Agents conducted door-to-door collection of photographs and health grievances. Investigators discovered Shell had previously examined this precise situation and installed protective measures. PBF disregarded those protections. During Thanksgiving evening, PBF operated the complete unit with minimal personnel because operators claimed the holiday. When challenged, PBF termed this standard staffing. Investigators rejected that characterization. The Thanksgiving catastrophe marked merely the commencement. July 2023, PBF discharged petroleum coke powder during standard operations. Dark residue blanketed communities. October 2023, another coke powder discharge. December 2023, a sulfur dioxide discharge residents detected miles distant. The Bay Area Air Quality Management District levied 173 violations against PBF across 4 years. That exceeds Shell's total across decades. Then arrived February 1st, 2025, precisely 5 years following PBF's acquisition. 2 temporary workers from Texas performed standard maintenance. They accessed the incorrect valve. 7,140 gallons of hydrocarbons escaped and ignited. The facility burned 3 consecutive days. Benzene, hydrogen sulfide, sulfur dioxide, and xylene contaminated the atmosphere. All induced cancer and respiratory illness. 6 personnel sustained injuries. Thousands of citizens received instructions remaining indoors with sealed windows. Emergency responders appeared within 14 minutes, then remained outside 2 hours, unable to reach anyone inside the facility. Communication devices operated on mismatched frequencies. Nobody supervised the temporary workers. Personnel failed comprehending the machinery they controlled. Shell previously maintained specialized teams for precisely this emergency category. PBF employed contractors from Texas who never previously worked California assignments. Actual individuals bear the consequences. Elizabeth Silvestri resided 3 miles from the facility. She inhaled the Thanksgiving powder and required hospitalization. The respiratory damage proved irreversible. She practiced nursing and now cannot continue employment. Robert Manning, a disabled Marine veteran. Following the Thanksgiving discharge, he acquired severe respiratory problems for his life's first occasion. He exceeds 70 years old. All his vegetation perished from the toxic powder. He desires relocation, yet cannot afford alternative Bay Area locations. Alice Sella attended a park with her children during the powder's descent. Her youngsters played outdoors, breathing it. Elizabeth Butler has resided in Martinez exceeding 10 years. She questioned what everyone considers. What if an actual detonation occurs? Not a blaze burning for days, but something transpiring within seconds. Martinez would disappear. Shell isn't the sole company that withdrew. Chevron departed California following 145 years and relocated to Houston. Marathon terminated their Martinez facility entirely. Exxon transferred the Torrance facility. Phillips 66 closes December 31st, 2025. Valero closes January 2026. California possessed 40 refineries during 1983. Presently, 13 exist. Come 2026, 7 will remain. Following all terminations, 3 corporations will dominate 90% of California's fuel. That's not a marketplace. That's a monopoly. California created this situation independently. Requirements became so severe that exclusively California facilities can produce California fuel. You cannot transport it from Texas. You cannot pipeline it from alternate states. Imports from Asia require 3 weeks via vessel. When a California facility experiences problems, zero backup exists. The California Energy Commission acknowledged the dilemma. They stated refineries terminate because they're not cost competitive. Translation: California rendered profit impossible. Therefore, intelligent corporations departed. Currently, California desires subsidizing refineries to maintain operations. They're discussing state-controlled refineries, tax incentives, regulatory flexibility, excessively delayed. Chevron departed, Shell departed, Valero's departing, Phillips 66 finished. The proficiency those corporations possessed never returns. Shell executed this flawlessly. They invested decades transforming Martinez into among America's finest refineries. Then they observed California becoming increasingly antagonistic toward their enterprise annually. They calculated projections and recognized the trajectory. Martinez held greater value as a transaction than as a continuing burden. Shell accepted $1.2 billion and exited cleanly. Zero accountability, zero legal actions, zero FBI inquiries. PBF paid $960 million plus stockpile. They've invested hundreds of millions on adherence. They're confronting $30 million deductibles per occurrence. The FBI investigates them. The EPA investigates them. Legal actions accumulate. The facility remained inactive almost 1 year, and they still cannot operate it safely. Here's the approaching reality. 7 facilities serving 40 million individuals come 2026. That's marginally sufficient when everything functions flawlessly. Nothing functions flawlessly in California facilities anymore. When the subsequent one experiences failure, zero backup exists. Costs surge instantly. $8 fuel approaches potentially 10. Yet the cost isn't the most frightening aspect. Inexperienced operators control complicated facilities adjacent to communities where families reside. The individuals who understood operating these facilities safely departed. They retired or relocated to states actually desiring them. Another detonation isn't a question of whether, it's the timing. Shell recognized this 5 years previously. They accepted their capital and withdrew. What remains is a state that desired oil corporations eliminated and currently witnesses the consequences detonating in everyone's presence. California lawmakers now question whether they created this predicament themselves. During recent hearings, the state's energy officials faced intense scrutiny. The Assembly Utilities and Energy Committee chair interrupted testimony about price spikes, demanding explanation. If California corporations profited enormously, why did two facilities announce closure intentions? Legislators from both political affiliations challenged California Energy Commission and Air Resources Board representatives, questioning whether regulatory actions triggered a greater fuel crisis. Representatives acknowledged potential self-inflicted crisis from regulatory decisions. One legislator struggled understanding alleged price manipulation. Another declared climate leadership definitely doesn't resemble $10 fuel. The committee redirected focus from fuel corporations toward regulators as two additional facilities announced terminations during the past year, creating an impending 20% reduction in state fuel provision. UC Berkeley professor Severin Borenstein, directing the Energy Institute at Haas, warned costs could increase by dollars per gallon. That represents genuine danger presently. California must anticipate it. This constitutes emergency response, not extended planning challenges. The fuel provision problem emerges while California regulators designed policies eliminating fuel-powered vehicles from roads for pollution reduction. Currently, the zero-emission vehicle transition propels California's affordability predicament into acceleration. Legislators attempted discussing methods for stabilizing fuel markets, ensuring no additional facility closures while determining